Hi, welcome to my channel. So I just wanted to make a video to help pre-nursing students who are studying for their ATITs or maybe have their Ts coming up soon. So I recently took mine and I did get a 95.3 overall score on the ATITs. And I was super excited. I was really kind of shocked a little bit, but I just wanted to share the tips and tricks and study skills that I used to get the score that I got. So stay tuned. So before I go into my scores for each section and my actual tips, the number one resource that I used that I think was great is this book right here. So it's ATIT Study Guide version 6 by Accepted Inc. I think it's like $20 or $30 at Barnes and Nobles. I don't remember. I honestly would just go to Barnes and Nobles every day after work and read through it and take my own notes because I was being cheap and didn't want to buy the book. But I eventually just bought it because I was tired of going to Barnes and Nobles every day. Definitely invest in a good resource. Like $30 to get a good score on a test that's going to get you into a good program. Just do it. But anyways, this is my number one resource, and let's talk about the breakdown of the T's. So you have reading, which is 53 questions in 64 minutes. You have math, which is 36 questions in 54 minutes. You have science, which is 53 questions in 63 minutes. And you have English, which is 28 questions in 28 minutes. Let's start with science, everyone's favorite. So science, I got a 91.5% on the science section, which I was really proud of. I have a good foundation of science. I did well in biology, anatomy, and physiology, which is really a lot of what the T's test you on. So definitely if you haven't taken those classes in a while or if you just didn't do too well, refresh on it. The science section in this book is awesome because it breaks down every organ system and then things that you need to know. So what I would do is that I had my own little notepad and I would just write cardiovascular system and then go ahead and write the blood flow through the heart and then write about, deoxygenated blood and oxygenated blood and even some diseases like atherosclerosis, just little things that could be on there. Definitely overstudy because they will ask you the most specific questions, like literally the blood flow through the heart, where does gas exchange take place. So it's better to know how it functions as a whole, each system, and what each part has to do with it because they will ask you about one specific part of that system. And if you don't know it all, you will not know the most specific, function. So definitely overstudy. I use this. I watched a lot of Khan Academy videos just to get a good refresher, especially for like endocrine system, which is never my strongest body system, I guess, about hormones and things like that. Definitely watch those Khan Academy videos. Watch YouTube videos about people just explaining it. There are a ton of good free resources out there if you don't want to spend a bunch of money. So science, those are pretty much my biggest takeaways. Know all of the systems, overstudy for science, and know your anatomy and know your physiology. Yes, and I'm rambling, so I'm going to go on to the next section, which we will talk about reading. So reading, I actually got 100%, which I was really proud of. I used a lot of tips and tricks that I learned from college, from my college courses, to help me do well on the reading section. So pretty much, you do want to read the passage first. If you are a fast reader, just read the passage first. Don't get stuck on every word. Just read it so you can get a good idea of it. If you're not a fast reader, go ahead and read the questions, but not the question answer choices. Just the questions and then read the article. It's very important to actually read the article because if they ask you about main idea of a passage, you need to actually have the best understanding of the passage. You don't just want to skim really too quick or just read one paragraph and think that you know the whole main idea of the passage because you won't. You won't know the author's tone or the author's mood if you only read one paragraph. So pretty much get used to reading kind of fast but still understanding the topics that are being discussed in the passage. So read the passage first if you can. Definitely don't look at the answer choices. When you read a question that says, what was the author's main idea in paragraph 2? That's when you go skim over paragraph 2 and think in your head, what would I say the main idea is? And then whatever you think in your head, go ahead and look at the choices and whichever one is most similar to what you thought That's probably the correct answer. You don't want to read the choices and then kind of, give yourself track. So I always think of my own answer first before I look at the answer choices. And then what I thought of is usually the right answer. And on the T's, it was because I didn't get anything wrong. And also, something that is very important when they ask you about things from the passage, don't put any of your own understanding or your own knowledge into it. Literally only go by what the article is telling you. Don't say, hey, this is common sense. This is part of this answer, even though it wasn't discussed in the passage. No, don't do that because now you're taking your own knowledge and making your own answer. And that's definitely not going to be the right answer. Only go by what is in the passage. And I'm honestly talking more about reading than I thought I would. But one other super, super great tip is when they ask you about authors' main idea and things like that, it's usually not going to be the extreme. So they'll throw questions in there that'd be either the low extreme or the high extreme. And the right answer is usually somewhere in the middle. So it's usually not the answer where they're like, the author hates this or the author really loves that. It's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably more so about wants to inform or things like that. So don't fall for the really extreme answers unless the literal tone of the passage is that extreme, which usually, honestly, usually it won't be. The next section we can talk about is math. So in the math section, I also got 100%, which I am really good at math. I'm really good with numbers, so I was really proud of myself for that. Really basic math. So just know a lot about fractions, converting fractions and converting decimals, your order of operations. Make sure you know how to do percent change. Make sure you know how to read a word problem and kind of put it into a formula and know how to get that answer. Definitely know the values of like the fraction and the decimals because the questions that I remember would have a number and a decimal, a number and a fraction, a whole number, a negative number, and then tell you to order it from least to greatest. So definitely understand the negative. You know how negative is always the lowest. The bigger the negative, the smaller it is. Know how to change a fraction into a decimal so that you can be working with numbers that are all the same. So pretty much things like that. Math, definitely not hard. Take your time. You have like a minute and some change for each question on the math section. So don't rush through it. You get a calculator. So if worst comes to worst, if it's like a formula, literally just put the answer choices into the question and whichever one gives you the answer is the right answer. So that takes a little bit longer, but if you really don't know how to go about it, you can try that. And if you really don't know how to convert a fraction or whatever, just put in your calculator, turn it into a decimal, and you can use that as a comparison. So math, really not bad. English is actually the section I did the worst in, which, I mean, I speak English and I really like grammar. So I was kind of surprised. I got an 87.5 on the English section. Probably why I got the lowest score. Okay, so it's a lot about grammar, punctuation, subject verb agreement. So definitely you can just Google, those topics. Pretty much just know like they are going versus they is going, like know which one is the right one, know where to put a semicolon, a comma, know if a sentence is wrong, like how could you fix it. Maybe the verb is wrong, maybe the subject is wrong, maybe something is plural when it shouldn't be. So pretty much those things. I definitely don't underestimate the test. Study everything, give yourself some time. Like I hear people taking the T's a week after they start studying, and I mean, to each his own, but I studied for at least a month. I studied legit for a month for this test, and my score speaks of that. So give yourself time. Take it twice if you have to. You want to get high above the minimum requirement for your program. And honestly, I'm not perfect because my GPA is not competitive. It's above a 3, but it is not competitive. So I knew that if I really wanted to get into the program I wanted to get into, I needed to get a good score on the T's. And I actually got into 2 programs that I wanted to get into and had a choice to make, and that's better than no choices. So I really hope this video helped you guys. I know I talked a lot, but please use my tips and leave comments and how you did and if you did use anything I talked about. And just a quick shout out for my shirt. So I'm wearing my Faking It on the back says making it shirt. These are part of my dear friend Kiara's facade project. So check her out on Instagram. On her podcast is really just about being your most genuine self. So that's what my channel is going to be all about. I'm starting nursing school in May, so I'm really excited to just be myself, talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, the ups and the downs. And if you guys like this video, there'll be more to come if I'm not drowning in studying. So like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you.